Should clear up a little bit later, I think.
Yeah, it'll clear up after the third city.
Yeah.
Actually, we have two sunbirds. Just over the other. Yeah. Ari and son. And my wife. You know, we got to 5 or 6.
Maybe grab a blanket.
Please.
Okay.
I was looking for you, and then someone else asked me for it, and
Oh, that's okay.
I have 2 blankets if you want.
I'm okay. No problem at all.
у нас микрофон. Сейчас, вы знаете, сейчас я спрошу, может быть, микрофон удастся передать. Если удастся, я спрошу сейчас. Нет, просто если... Это же, у нас же, по-моему, веб-каст будет. Поэтому надо, чтобы дошел звук туда. Понимаете? Сейчас это просто...
Ничего страшного, она мне поможет туда дойти.
Ничего, я не хочу, чтобы передать. Я сейчас попробую очень вопрос. Вот, потому что вы, а потом, когда Лина там почитает, что там Вова написал, и ставит на самом деле. Хорошо, сейчас это
Возьму, наверное, сначала пускай дочка прочитает.
Она, лучше потом, потому что она...
Ну, это как скажешь.
Я с ней все обсуждал этот вопрос. Дело в том, что значит, она сказала, что поскольку вы всю жизнь что знали Бога, вы можете много рассказать о нем как человеке. А то, что она будет делать, это будет просто Бога написал текст, она просто текст читает. Поэтому более важно. Нет, ну я у нее спросил, мы это обговорили. А вот все нормально. Значит, я просто могу снять мой микрофон и передать вам. И вы отсюда скажете. Хорошо. Можно даже не вставать.
Не страшно, ходить трудно. Я вот пошел, конечно, но это я боюсь, я после кого-то упаду.
Да нет, ну все. Неврологическая, да? А? Неврологическая проблема, да?
Да.
У меня папа спокойно помнит, какие была поступила.
Ну, у меня уже 22 года.
Вот, у него было где-то, сейчас скажу, не сколько, лет 30, наверное.
Рассеянный склероз.
Нет, не рассеянный, у него просто была полимиопатия. Не могли найти долго. У него было просто, то самое, у него позвонки, он гимнастом был, и после военный ребенок с большой семьей. Нет, сами здесь ему декомпрессию делали в 95 году, то есть на шее помогли, но там еще другие были. Короче говоря, да, это были такие, так что, да, с мобильностью.
Ну вот у меня, собственно говоря, с мобильностью проблемы. Агрессируют и хотят терпеть.
Ну да, главный вопрос замедлить как можно.
Ну вот эти лекарства, которые я делаю, они, собственно говоря, лечения этого нет, а
Лечения нет, это только можно зафиксировать.
Замедляют, они даже не фиксируют, они замедляют прогресс.
У меня сам был, то есть ему сразу нейрохирург, у меня тоже сказал, понимаете, говорит, и от этого ты не излечишься. Вот, я тебе обещаю, лучше ты не станешь, но хуже должно становиться медленнее. Вот, собственно, вся история.
Живу уже 20 лет.
Ну, нет, все, да, это было. Нет, 50-й год это был приговор. Причем приговор на очень медленно. Сейчас это так. Медленно. Работаем,
Из дома, правда?
Слушай, я не дома работаю. Я только выхожу на мероприятие.
Rabbi, are you ready?
Я принимаю людей.
Rabbi, are you ready?
Oh, I am ready.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the following are pallbearers: Ronald Dove, Brian Chard, Zachary, and Brock Splowski. Could you please come up to the hearse? family please come and be seated? In front of the camera, please. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a cell phone, please put it into silent mode at this time. The service will be conducted by Rabbi Misha Tillman.
Friends, before we begin the service, we shall perform a very ancient ritual which is called Kriya in the Hebrew language. The ritual in question dates back to the biblical period of our history. In the text of the Tanakh, or the Hebrew Bible, we often find that whenever people receive sad news of the passing of a loved one, they would tear their clothes and put a dust upon the head as a sign of mourning. And the custom of rending our garment when the clothes relatives depart from this world, we retain in our community to this day. Therefore, at this time, I will tear the ribbons given to the widow, the daughters, and the sisters. I will tell you a story that I hardly ever tell anyone, and you will see why. 21 years ago, my mother suffered a terrible stroke, a massive stroke, right in front of us, me and my father. She was taken to the hospital by the ambulance. Things were not looking good. She went into a coma, was in a critical condition. So when we came back from the hospital, sat in the kitchen, me and my dad. Oh, my father, of course, he's a Russian guy. He said, pour me a shot. We'll put him a shot. Pour me another one. Another one. Pour me another one. So after the third shot, he said, why did it have to happen to us? And I didn't even think about it. I answered him automatically. It just came out by itself. I said, it's the wrong question to ask. The right question is, where do we go from here? Today, my friends, is a very difficult day, a very tough day, a very painful day for all of us. Volodya left us. But again, the question is not why did it have to happen to us? The question is, where do we go from here? If you believe in God, you can say God's ways are unfathomable. If you don't, you can say human life is fragile and unpredictable. But what it means is that it is our duty to cherish every moment we have with each other. Every moment we have with each other in this world. To live meaningfully, to do good things, and to honor memories of people whom we lost, but who
continue to be a part of our lives in the most important spiritual sense of that word. And Volodya will always remain a part of our life. With the passage of time, the pain of loss will subside. It's normal, it should be this way. But the legacy, Volodya's legacy, is right personality, his thoughtfulness, his sense of humor, and just his, I'll use the Russian word, intelligentность. All that will remain, and most importantly, his love for his family, his love and respect for his friends, because those things, they transcend the boundaries of space and time. Love cannot be taken away. King Solomon 3,000 years ago, in the book known as Ecclesiastes in our tradition, in Hebrew it's called Kohelet, discussed the meaning of life. Life is finite. That is what he says. There is a time for everything, a time for every experience under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die. And then he goes on, reflecting on the fact that in our life we encounter everything, good and bad, pleasant and painful. But it is our duty to make sure that each experience counts. These are the words of King Solomon. לכל זמן ועת לחול חפש תחת השמיים, עת ללדת ועת למות, עת לדעת ועת לקור נטוע, עת לפרוץ ועת לבנות, עת לבכות ועת לשחוק, עת צפות ועת רכות, עת להשליך אבנים ועת כנוס אבנים, עת לחבוק ועת לרוק מן הבית, עת לבקש ועת לאבד, עת לשמור ועת להשליך, עת לקרוא ועת לתפור, עת לחשות ועת לדבר. For everything there is a season and a time for every experience under the heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embrace. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to discard. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. It is a time to speak. It is a time to remember our dear Volodya. And it is a time to remember all that was good, enduring, priceless, unforgettable in his life. It's time to honor his legacy. I already mentioned, Volodya lived a wonderful life. I'm not trying to suggest it was an easy life. There's no such thing as an easy life. But he lived well. He lived meaningfully. He lived a full life, a complete life. He comes from a wonderful city of Baku. And we discussed that the other day. Baku used to be, not anymore, but it used to be very cosmopolitan. Much like Odessa used to be, or much like New York is now, for example. And really, it was a wonderful city. And he was born to a wonderful family. As we would say in Russian, intelligentная семья. In fact, his father, Natasha will correct me if I'm wrong, his father and his grandfather were nefтяники. They were in the oil industry. They were very educated, very intelligent people, and it was a happy place. It was a very happy family. And he came into this world in 1946, and Baku was not only a cosmopolitan city, it was also a major industrial city. In particular, I'm talking about oil industry. Still is as a matter of fact, and many people studied, researched, and later worked in that industry. So Volodya did attend a college called AZE, which is essentially was a college who trained professionals once again for the oil and chemical industry. He became an engineer, but he switched very quickly to computer programming. So oil wasn't his passion. His passion when it came to his professional activities was computer science. His mind was very precise, very rigorous, very exact, and which can be also illustrated by the fact that he was an excellent chess player. Excellent chess player. He had, as we call in Russia, второй разряд. in chess, and I think he won. I think he won like a youth championship in Baku, in the city. Yeah. So he was, and again, chess playing and computer science, they have a lot in common. It's all about precision. It's all about algorithm. It's all about calculation. So that's why he really enjoyed computer science. He was among the first generations, I would say, of people who went into that field that was very new at the time. Very new at the time, and it wasn't even called computer science back then. It was called kybernetica, cybernetics, and the computers were not even called computers; they were called EVM, электронные вычислительные машины, in Russian. You know, that was the time when, and the whole device would take up the whole room. That was the time when Volodya went into that industry, and he stayed there for the rest of his life. So when the family moved to the United States in 1981, again in Russia, he worked for the Azerbaijani Academy of Sciences as a programmer, and then when he came to the United States, he continued to be a programmer. Worked for various large companies in the Chicago area, and as you know, there are many of them. Now, Volodya was someone whom I would describe, and I used that word already, настоящий интеллигент. And the reason why I'm using a Russian expression is because, for better or worse, there is no equivalent in the English-speaking world for that Russian word, intelligent. There is a word intellectual, so that's somebody who knows a lot. But intelligent in the Russian culture, it is someone who not just knows a lot, but someone who follows a certain system of values. And those things, they go together, they cannot be separated. And that is how Volodya was. He knew a lot. He knew a lot, and he liked to learn and study, and you name it, he was interested in it. Politics, well, all men like politics, there's no question about that. Finance, history, architecture, military science. He was interested in all those things and studied them. And moreover, him and Fyodor, they enjoyed traveling. They went all over the world. But they did it not the wrong way. And the wrong way means is when you arrive in Paris, you do just one thing. You take your photograph at against the background of the Eiffel Tower and just move on. That's not the way to this. Everywhere they went, it was all about architecture, history, museums. So it had to be a profoundly meaningful cultural and spiritual experience. That is how he did everything. This is how he lived. That is why he wrote. He was a writer. He wrote so well, and Lena will share with us one of the texts that he wrote. And again, it wasn't even his intention. He wasn't even interested in publishing something. No, he really kind of. They take a walk in the park, and he gives you, and then he comes home and he writes something up to give a description, just put some impressions down on paper to kind of express his sentiment. And it came out beautifully. He was so good at it. He was so good at it. Well, unfortunately, my friends, we cannot control the wind. Be very careful. There is some shards of glass here, so Lloyd will take care of it. So back to Volodya's passions when it came to traveling. I cannot resist mentioning his favorite destination. And Peter said that Italy. It was Italy. Because in Italy, like I said the other day, you can live in Rome for a couple of years and you still will not see everything there is to see. This is how rich it is, and the richer the culture, the more interesting it was for Volodya. Volodya loved jazz, and jazz is the whole field of study. It's not just music. Jazz is an experience. Classical music is different, rock music is different, but jazz is also is an experience. And not only he loved just to listen to the music, he would tell you when this particular jazz composition was performed for the first time, who wrote that tune, and all those trivia that most people simply cannot even fathom. But he was able to do that. He knew it. Volodya was a wonderful friend. He was an amazing friend. And he was, as we would say in Russia, dusha компании, or as we would say in English, he was the life of the party. Same thing. People loved him because again, of his personality, he was very witty, a wonderful sense of humor. Because again, he was very intelligent. Those two go hand in hand. And at the same time, those of you who were not part of his family circle, he was also a kind of quiet and reflective when it came to the family life. So it was just a very interesting combination of his character trait. He was very sociable, but at the same time he was also kind of a quiet and reflective man. One was appropriate. That was how he was, and he was a man of integrity. He was a man of integrity. One of the things that he really, one of his kind of positions in the world was, he did things that he believed in doing. He did it his way. He always strove to do the right things, and he did. And what other people thought about what he did was honestly of minimal interest to him. And that's the right thing to do. Do the right thing. And we live in the world of, you know what I'm talking about, right? So you get these hate things on the social media, whatever. We live in the world when everybody gets that. Volodya, he didn't care about those things. He did what he felt was right. And that's the way to live. That's another lesson he taught all of us. So to sum up that part, I will quote, I think Lena said that the other way. He was emotionally intelligent. Was it Lena or Marina said that? Lena said, yeah. He was emotionally intelligent. That's Volodya, right there. The most important part of Volodya's life was his family. Everything he did was for the family. I already mentioned that he was born in a very happy, very loving, very intelligent family, and he has a wonderful sister, Natasha, whom he loved very much. And the family had to endure, like many Jewish families in the Soviet Union, they had to endure a lengthy time apart. When Volodya and Vera and the girls left the Soviet Union, and then Natasha and their mama, they stayed back because the government stopped letting people go. So it took, 10 years or more for the family to reunite. And again, he loved his sister and her family very much. Фира, держитесь, дорогая моя, душевных сил вам. 53 years together. Life is never a smooth ride, but the important thing is that this half a century plus time, they went through everything together. Good things, bad things. Vera and Volodya, why did they come to the United States? Not for their own sake, but for the sake of their daughters, so that they would have a better future in the new country, better opportunities. And immigration is not an easy experience. All of us who went through this as adults know what I'm talking about. I don't even have to say it twice and to elaborate on it. But he was willing, Vera and Volodya, willing to go through that so that Marina and Lena would have a good life here. It was the right decision. His daughters were always the source of pride and joy to him. It is the duty of every parent to raise a good kid. And when our children grow up and have a good career, we're proud, quite rightly so, but our mission as parents is only fulfilled when the time arrives, and as a father I say to myself, my daughter grew up to be a good human being. That's when I'm done. That's my mission is complete. For Volodya, we can proudly say mission accomplished. He raised wonderful daughters. And he has two sons-in-law, Ron and Brian. And they had a wonderful relationship. And again, needless to say, Ron and Brian are local American boys, right? Volodya was a Russian guy, Russian immigrant. So yes, of course, there are cultural differences, but again, that was not an issue. To build those bridges of relationship and to become one family. Again, that is the way to live. That is the way to go. And he has wonderful grandchildren whom we love very much. He was our Russian dedushka, Russian-style dedushka, because Russian dedushkas, Russian grandfathers, they, just like Russian grandmas, Russian babushkas, they're very involved. They try to be as involved as they possibly can be in lives of their grandchildren. Hannah, Zachary, Leo, and Tammy, we loved them infinitely. I saw the pictures, the beautiful photos. When I came, we sat down at the table, and the first thing that Fira, Lynn, and Marina pointed to me, said, look at those pictures. And on those pictures was Volodya with grandkids. That's how important it was to him. At this time, my friends, we will continue reflecting on Volodya's legacy through thoughts and reminiscences of people who were very close to him. He has many wonderful close friends, and one of them is Syoma Sam, who will now share his thoughts. Syoma will speak in Russian. He will now share his thoughts about Volodya. I will pass the mic to Syoma, and he will say a few words for us.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I will speak Russian. Дорогие друзья, нужно говорить, нужно подобрать слова. Я думаю, что Реве сказал уже много о нем. Мое детство прошло рядом с Фирой, а моя юность прошла рядом с Фирой Словой. Что сказать? Человек незаурядный, человек интеллигентный, человек незаурядного ума, чувство юмора. Помню, все помню, они женихались с Фирой, а я был там пацаном, как-то 13-12 лет, сколько мне было. Они иногда встречались у нас в квартире, в комнате одной, а я все бегал, чем они там занимаются. Мои родители меня оттаскивали от этой комнаты. Тогда я слышал оттуда смех, и, насколько я помню, там, по-моему, раздавался даже звук гитары. Он был человек, невозможно было поверить в разносторонность. Периодически он вдруг он стал заниматься переводами. Я с удивлением узнал, что человек переводит с таких языков, английский, французский, немецкий, это все как-то было на слуху, многие, может, чем-то занимались. Вдруг я узнаю, человек переводит с румынского, с японского, с венгерского. То есть для меня, я там был молодой какой-то студентчик, для меня это языки были марсианские, вообще непонятно. А он у него обложил своего. А говорить о библиотеке, которую он имел, этой библиотеке завидовал весь Баку, по-моему. Книги, которые были у него, а все оригиналы покупать на сайте, практически. Человек, хочу сказать, еще человек, он во время мира продолжил. Помимо всех его качеств, он всегда готов был помочь, стать как совет. Он любил выражать свое мнение. Это человек, который всегда на всех партиях, он не стеснялся, он всегда говорил тост. Этот тост был очень красивый, очень интересный, необычный, не просто давайте выпьем за здоровье, необычный, интересный и всегда в нужное время. Ой, очень не хватает. Вы помните, Вовчик? Знаю. Я всегда говорю, что я очень богатый человек. Я богатый человек, потому что у меня 3 дочери. И он тоже всегда был богатым человеком. У него прекрасные 2 дочери, которые его любят, любили и будут любить всегда. Царствие тебе небесное, дорогой.
And I already mentioned that Volodya enjoyed writing, and Alina wanted to share with us one of the things that he wrote. I'm not sure how recently, but зимой.
I'd like to share something that my dad wrote fairly recently. I'm going to speak English because my Russian is unreliable at best. But obviously, some of you who knew my dad well know that in addition to all of his many other creative pursuits, he was a writer, a very good one, as Rabbi Talmud said. And one thing he kept returning to in his work was the idea of the past and memory. And this actually is something that matches up very well with what the rabbi has just spoken about. I promise we didn't plan it. Like most of us, my father's relationship with the past was complicated, but the conclusion that he kept seeming to come to over and over in his work is that as seductive as the past can be, and as tempting as it is to live in it sometimes, it's the present and the future that are much better places to be with your loved ones in the present moment. Well, I'd like to read a piece that he wrote after a recent visit to the House on the Rock in Wisconsin. And the trip clearly made an impression on him because he kept talking about it. And when I read this piece, I understood why. This piece is called Never Go Back. It's kind of like this. We fly along the road of life and don't bother to stop to look around. Usually we don't have time. Sometimes it's scary to look at the past. You might start disliking the present, and then things will really get uncomfortable. And of course there's the danger that when you search for a lost diamond in the dust of time, it might just turn out to be a shard of glass. Anyway, there are many dangers. I'm going back to a place I haven't visited in 30 years. The green tunnel of trees embraces each other's shoulders. I don't remember this. And the inscription, House on the Rock. And now, piece by piece, the past assembles into a mosaic. I'm here again, but the actors in the play are different. The kids have scattered across their highways, and we enter halls built by a crazy man, with friends who have never been here. I dig through my memory. Now the sadness for bygone youth will begin, or memories of the merry-go-round spinning to the music of Strauss, pathetic and laughable. But instead, a sweet, petty delight comes over me. It turns out I was looking in the wrong place when I was last here. I marveled at the huge collections of junk, not to be admired by enlightened connoisseurs of world art. I didn't see the giant in this simple, not overly layered boy who built this place, the undereducated fool, the strange offspring of parents none too happy with their child. And suddenly I see everything from a different angle. He did something here most people can't. He made his dream a reality. He built a monument to himself in his own lifetime. Of course, when we're alive, who thinks about monuments, about graves, about who will be around to remember you? But this young man wanted to create his own palaces on the cliffs and to fill them with what he thought was important, and he did. It is said to be the most visited place in Wisconsin. I glance at my friends. Do they regret coming to this ridiculous place? No, they understand. One exhibit demands I stay longer. I don't remember seeing it last time, but I feel in my gut that it has been waiting for me patiently since my last visit. The road to nowhere. It hangs over the dense Wisconsin valleys and forests, and I see in it my life, which stretches to infinity. It will not let me down. Here we are at the last stop. The music of Strauss still plays, and still, through the smoke, swirl the 269 figures of the world's largest carousel. And everything becomes easy and light. The past has greeted me, and we have parted again as friends. To future greetings.
When members of King David's court brought him bad news, terrible news, his son died. A baby boy died. Terrible. Nothing is worse in this world than losing a child. David surprised the members of his court by asking, in response, to bring him white clothing and arrange in a banquet table. What kind of reaction was that? He explained that, well, he said, it is not in my power to change anything. But now, said King David, I must continue to live days measured for me. Returning to where we started, where do we go from here? The answer is very simple. Continue to live, continue to love, because this is what Volodya would have wanted us to do, for his sake. So strength of spirit to you, my dear friends. And while we partner with Volodya, it is only physical part. The most important sense of that word in the spiritual world will always remain a living and inspiring presence in our lives. So may his memory be a blessing upon all of us. Let us honor Volodya's memory with a moment of silence. Please rise. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבם, וילמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, ויחונו ויום יכונו וחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה וזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבם מבורך לעולם ולעלמי הלוויה, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה ברכו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, ושבחתה ונקמתה דאמירן ויעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלם הרב מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומה, יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort all the bereaved and hopeless. You may be seated. You may be seated. In just a few moments, the cemetery staff will close the lid of the vault, and then everyone will have an opportunity to take part in the burial. And I don't think I have to dwell at length on the idea that in our tradition, it is the most important aspect of the funeral rites, that everyone present at the funeral takes part in the Levaya, takes part in the burial of the deceased. So all of us will have an opportunity to lay some earth into the place of eternal rest of our dear Volodya. Needless to say, be very careful taking part in the ritual. It's a little bit slippery due to rain, and so the monuments are just, watch your step. We'll announce when we shall be prepared to proceed.
due to specific features of the location, I suggest that either from this side or the right one,
Gentlemen, the family wanted me to invite everybody back to their home, 7255 West Monroe in Niles, upon conclusion of the service today.
Yeah. We lost a couple. I know, they run off and we don't catch them.
This is not like